Hello and welcome to the program. I am Simisola Atikun. Well, the recent ruling by Nigeria's Supreme Court seems to have deepened the Labour Party's internal leadership crisis as questions remain over who holds legitimate authority within the party. Both factions in the Labour Party are claiming victory of the Supreme Court's judgment. In a unanimous verdict delivered on Friday, April 4, 2025, a five-man panel of the Apex Court vacated the January 17 judgment of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which validated Julius Abure's continued stay in office as the Labour Party's national chairman. The Supreme Court, in its lead verdict read on Friday by Justice Mohammed Idris, faulted the intervention of the appellate court in the matter. It held that since the crux of the dispute was on the leadership of a political party, the appellate court lacked the jurisdiction to make any pronouncement in Abure's favor. According to the Apex Court, no court has the powers to interfere in the domestic affairs of a political party, describing it as unjustifiable. Therefore, it allowed an appeal that was brought before it by a former Minister of Finance, Senator Esther Nenadi Usman, and Honorable Darlington Onwokoja, who are the chairman and secretary of the Labour Party, respectively. That's of a caretaker committee that was earlier appointed to pilot the affairs of the party. The court dismissed a cross-appeal that was filed by Abure enjoining political parties to always abide by their own rules in the appointment of its officers. The Apex Court equally implored officials of political parties whose tenures have elapsed to learn to vacate their positions. Now, the court did not award costs against any of the parties involved in the Labour Party leadership disputes. Well, the matter is even more confusing because both factions of the Labour Party have claimed victory. One side says the judgment means Julius Abure still remains the chairman of the party, but the caretaker committee of the party says the judgment means Abure has been sacked. Let's get more reactions. Lawyer Catch Ononuju joins me to provide a legal perspective. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. Now, having studied the CTC of the Supreme Court's ruling, give us an interpretation of the judgment, especially now that both factions of the Labour Party are claiming victory to the ruling.
Okay, the judgment is very clear. It was based on an action brought by the Nenadi Osman-led committee seeking for a clarification and also to set aside the ruling of the lower court. The lower court simply said that Abure is chairman. No. What the prayers that were granted by Nenadi Osman has said was that since Julius Abure and his executive-led NWC have come to the end of their tenure, that they will want a declaration by the court to say that they no more exist as officials of the Labour Party. And that's what the court said, that prayer was meritoriously granted. So, pursuant to that, Mr. Peter Obi, alongside Governor Alex Oti, and elected senators and other stakeholders on the Labour Party platform have now called for a meeting. The meeting being jointly called by Peter Obi and Alex Oti will hold this week. And that meeting will bring together all stakeholders, all elected persons of the Labour Party, and it will be kind of a town hall meeting. And what will be decided there, I don't know. I'm not going to preempt it, but of course you know what that means. One, there was no convention held by Mr. Abure. The declaration by his old gang that they are still in power is hereby nullified by the court's ruling. The only way you can do a national convention as a political party is when you hold local government and state congresses. It is from the local government and state congresses that you generate delegates to the convention. That was not done by Mr. Abure. So I think after the stakeholders meeting summoned by Mr. Peter Obi and Governor Alex Oti, that will be attended by all elected persons and other stakeholders of the Labour Party, they will now decide on how to go about conducting ward, local government congresses, and state congresses that will now generate the delegates that will be called to a national convention where, as the largest decision-making body of the party, issues about the party's future shall be decided. That's where it is right now.
Where does that now leave both factions of the party, especially now that the Supreme Court has said that the courts in general cannot decide on faction-led crisis or party crisis, as the case may be? What then should be the Labour Party's next action?
No. What it is there are no triumphalisms. We are still happy to the gentlemen at the Labour Party because immediately after the judgment, we had a private meeting, the top echelons of the obedient movement, and I told all of them that there will be no triumphalism. We are grateful to the members of the Labour Party who gave us a platform to market Mr. Peter Obi when we angrily left the PDP because the PDP was not respecting its rules of inclusion through zoning, and we thought that was not good. So we left, and when we came to them, they gave us a platform. So for that, we're grateful to them. Where we fell out to them was after the election, they refused to accommodate members of the obedient movement into the party. So it is that failure and refusal to assimilate the obedient movement that we forced us now to tell Mr. Peter Obi that if us who are with him are rejected by these people, there is no way we can feel comfortable with these people. I myself and Mr. Okugbe, who started this originally in the PDP, and of course later on Mr. Aki Oshintoku, we were all never accepted by the Labour Party hierarchy. I don't know what they felt. Probably they felt afraid of one or two things which we don't know. But what it is we are still tomorrow grateful to them for giving us their platform, which we use to market P2B for the presidential elections. But because they refused to assimilate us into the Labour Party, that's why we now sought this particular declaration from the court. And we're very happy. After this declaration by the court, what we have now decided to do is, as I've told you, Peter Obi, alongside Governor Alex Oti, have now decided to invite all stakeholders, all elected people on the platform of the Labour Party, and all relevant people, plus the bulk of the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress, because the Labour Congress are the owners of the original structure that house the Labour Party. So everybody shall meet this week, and after that stakeholders meeting, issues will be decided on how to move the party forward. And basically, what shall be decided is how to conduct ward and local government congresses. It is from this ward and local government congresses that we can now then generate delegates that will be brought to a national convention so that the Labour Party can now elect executives who do not exist. Mr. Abure's tenure has come to an end, and it is time now that we allow leadership of that party to now move to some people in the north, since we are still thinking about fielding Mr. Peter Obi as presidential candidates. There will be no vanquish, there will be no triumphalism. We are grateful to them. We're also grateful to Peter Obi, who agreed when we begged him to come and run, because at the beginning, our agitation had no head. We had nobody, but later on, when he agreed to run, that was how the movement became complete. And now we recognize the Labour Party had been in that crisis since from the Akwanga Convention. Let us probably arrest that crisis through this stakeholders meeting at which it will be decided on how to proceed going forward. For me, I see this as the formal ending of that Akwanga convention crisis, and then a chance to work with the owners of the party, being the Nigerian Labour Congress, to now chart a brand new way forward for the Labour Party.
Right now, the opinion out there following the Supreme Court judgment is that parties would or should settle their internal wranglings, within the party. Do you think that a political approach is still viable?
Well, one thing that is inevitable is that the Supreme Court will continue to rule on issues of party if the parties fail to form quorum and to agree amongst themselves. You cannot wish away declarations that kind of illuminate the path forward, because the reasons why that decision was given was the PDP governors were divided amongst themselves. Some of them were loyal to their relationship with Mr. Wike, and so they didn't want to be emphatic. But now that the party have now seen that it cannot continue to be on the fence, that's why the court has now told them that the right thing to do is for them now to go and hold their meeting. And that simply requires building consensus to come to acceptable agreements, and then put those agreements as positions of the party. And when you put them, they will be considered as internal affairs of the party that nobody can, go against. It's when you do that you can now say you've taken decisions, but not coming to the court for people to decide for you. And that is specific. So in the issue of the Labour Party, it's very definite. The tenure of Abure and his executive had expired. And since they have not gone through the legal moves to remain in office, the court has declared that the prayers sought by Nena de Osman and co. is meritorious. And so those prayers succeeded. And based on that, Mr. Peter will be acting in concert with Governor Alex Oti and other elected officials and stakeholders are scheduled to hold a meeting within the next 72 hours. And when they hold that stakeholders meeting, they will be able to chart a new way forward for the party. So I think that is very much in order, because what you now have is the party is in the hands of the trustees, and that's members of the Labour Congress and other people. So I don't see a problem. The Supreme Court decision is right. And of course, the position being taken by Mr. Peter Obi, the stakeholders, and other elected persons of the Labour Party, it's in order, because the office has expired for Mr. Abure and his other travelers. And the right thing for them to do is to step down, since they have not found the support of the party to actually continue to stay in office without being returned there by a convention. There was no convention. The only way you can do a convention is by generating delegates from the state and local government congresses. And that has not happened in this case. So when the stakeholders meet, they will decide on how to conduct local government and state congresses from where delegates will begin.
Yes, I'm sorry to cut you short, sir. So
I recall that the Independent National Electoral Commission, that INEC, had invalidated Abure's leadership, citing irregularities in the party's national convention and saying that his tenure had expired in June 2024. Now, is it Isn't it illegal for Abure to still remain in power?
He will leave. He will leave. Abure is acting in line with the way Nigeria is. We are in the period of illegalities, of absurdities. So the absurd behavior by Abure and his co-travelers has been checked by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. What now remains is for it to be acted upon by the stakeholders who would be meeting in the next 72 hours in Abuja. That wouldn't be an issue. That wouldn't be an issue. We live in a society governed by law, even if some could doggishly want to assert themselves. The INEC have said that they didn't do any convention, so they can't stay in office. And then the Supreme Court concurred with INEC. There are no two ways about this. Forget about any other thing anyone says. Abure has lost out, and the right thing for him to go is him and his other supporters should leave. They are very shameless people. That's why they're behaving this way.
All right, Mr. Ononoju, we'll take a short break here and continue the conversation. Stay with us. The program will return shortly. Welcome back. We're still discussing the Supreme Court's ruling on the Labour Party leadership crisis, and I'm still discussing with legal practitioner Catch Ononoju. Now, both factions of the Labour Party, that's the Abure-led faction, and Peter Obi with Alex Otti, have organized separate NEC meetings, which clearly shows that no faction is ready to back down or, concede defeat. It also means that the crisis is far from over. What are your thoughts?
Well, you also need to understand that Abure thinks he has some people who might not be happy that the Nigerian opposition has varied platform to operate in, and so he thinks he can work with those enemies of democracy in Nigeria to undermine the stability of our democracy. Because it's not just about the Labour Party, it's about our democracy. The democracy needs to have a viral opposition. It needs to have unencumbered platforms so that we can have competition in our democracy. It's not fair that we will have a one-party state engineered by people like Abure, Wike, and all those people who are now willing to undermine the capacity and ability of opposing parties to stay alive in our democracy. And so it's got nothing to do with Labour Party. It's more of the health of our democracy. And so since in this case, the stakeholders, P2B, Alex Otti, INEC, and the Supreme Court are on the same page, the noise by Abure would not sustain. You just take it that way. It's not sustainable. They've been gotten rid of.
Mr. Ononoju, this case has dragged on for so long, such that the Labour Party's position as a formidable opposition is in serious doubt, especially ahead of the 2027 general elections. Now, how detrimental is this crisis to the obedient movement, which is the support base of the Labour Party?
The two platforms are very different. Don't forget that. The obedient movement was a youth-based movement which we formed in anger 8 months to election. I was very critical. I was working with Mr. Doyinokugbe. I worked with him earlier for the campaign of Bukola Saraki. So when it got to 2022 and we sat down to meet, and I told him we're not getting younger. In line with the demands of our democracies, rotating calculations that forces inclusion of all of Nigeria in what we're doing. We should play for the Southern president. And that's why we pulled out that and started playing. And at that time, we didn't have a candidate. The first time I went to Mr. Peter Obi, he said no, he wouldn't want to challenge, as he said, his principle. That was Atiku. And I respected that. But then I went around and talking to people like the late Chief Okwadike, Okwadike Iguku, him alongside Chief SN Okeke and others. And they called Peter to order and asked him not to say no to my entreaties. And grudgingly, Peter agreed to head what we're doing. And that was how we now had a head. And the movement was born and named after him. And yes, we are grateful, as I said earlier, that the Labour Party, who were coming out of convention in Akwanga, they were embroiled in leadership crisis. But we were able to find a group to work with. And we have worked with them. We're grateful to them. And the obedient movement has become something synonymous with change in Nigeria. So we thought it wouldn't be proper to have the obedient movement superimposed, under a painting where the Labour Party is. No. Labour Party was just not stable for us to also trust them. Secondly, they did not see us, members of the movement, as a healthy neighbor. Yes, but they were willing to enjoy the noise we made in terms of the kind of view and followership that we forced as we built the youth-based movement with Mr. Peter Obi at the top. And we said, no, since these people are not willing to accommodate us, we should simply differentiate the obedient movement from the Labour Party. And that's what we did, and that's why we're here. And even as you see the PDP talking to Mr. Peter Obi, that is on the same premise, that should we all agree, Peter might now lead the youth movement to the PDP and be able to use that as a platform through a merger to now unite the opposition going in to the 2027 elections. This is the plan. That's why you see on all platforms, everybody wants Mr. Peter Obi. And so now that we've gotten this local pronouncement by the courts, I am not a member of the Labour Party. Don't forget that. I'm a leader of the obedient movement. So if the meeting is consummated in the next 72 hours and it is successful, whatever the meeting agrees, that will be the new path for the Labour Party. And of course, this is being done with the owners of the Labour Party, in this case, the Nigerian Labour Congress. They will attend the stakeholders meeting being called by Mr. Peter Obi and Governor Alex Oti. It will also be attended by other elected persons, all senators from the Labour Party, all of them elected House of Rep members, stakeholders, and of course, well-wishers of Nigeria democracy. We will all come there and we will decide on the fate of where to take the Labour Party through.
Finally, now let's discuss the planned coalition of several opposition parties championed by the leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and other opposition parties to unseat President, or rather with a bid to unseat President Bola Tinubu and the ruling APC in 2027. Are you in support of this coalition?
Well, don't forget what you call him coalition. It is an attempt to bring back the PDP, as it were, before we left. We left, I'm a member of the PDP, involved in anti-party activities. That's what it is. When out of anger, we started the youth movement, and the PDP understands, because when they asked, how do we come back? We said, you must do a post-mortem to find out why we left, why Kwankwaso left. And then if you understand it, and they probably did it, and it turned out it mirrors what happened in the PDP in 2015, when a lot of people left, led by Mr. Atiku, to found MPDP, which now had a merger with all the political bodies, and that was how they bettered the Buhari presidency on the platform of the APC. So if we agree to correct our mistakes of 2015, which was not zoning the presidency to the north, that was why they left. And that same mistake was made in 2023, not zoning the presidency categorically to the south. And that's what it is. We knew if we zoned it to the south, since the southwest had already taken their turn with Obasanjo, it will naturally come to the southeast. But when Mr. Atiku Abubakar negatively led people to say no, that was why we left. And when we left, we now started the youth movement, which now sold Mr. Peter Obi on the platform of the Labour Party. Mr. Kwankwaso left and started the NNPP. So we said if the mafia that undermines inclusion through zoning will step down their behavior and allow inclusion, then we are willing to come back and then have P2B rebuild the opposition. This is where we are. So the issues about merger, it's not a merger, it's like a return back to status quo. That's what we're thinking about. The other issue is the talk about the break away of the CPC faction from the APC, as you saw, led by maybe a Rufai into the SDP. No, that's not on our cards. Returning back to the PDP is one thing. Then merging the PDP with the Labour Party, yes, is the other thing. That there is no story about one mega. No, it's not true. It's just how do we come back if those who forced us to leave have now agreed to climb down from their high horse of not including the aspirations of the people of the South in Nigeria in the rulership of Nigeria.
Well, then we wait to see what the party decides going forward. Mr. Kach Ononuju, legal practitioner, thank you very much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts and knowledge with us as always. That's all we have on this episode. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.